Hello, AfterBuzzers. We are here doing 3 episodes of The Good Wife, getting a little bit caught up before the series finale next week. So stay tuned. We're going to have predictions and a lot to discuss.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
I love this music. I say it every week like it's nothing new, but
and it's not much to it. It's just a quick into.
I think that's what
show.
I like about it.
Yeah.
I like it just kind of like
It gets to the point.
Yes, it's very lawyery in that way.
Yes.
It's like they're just to the point.
Yes.
So, in case you don't know, I am your host, Courtney Henderson, and of course, with me, I have
Kenny Harrison. Hello, everyone.
He's my favorite, so be nice to him. Be nice to
Or
me.
not. You can be mean. I don't care.
Only to him. He only gave it to him.
I can take it. I've got thick skin, so go ahead and give it to me now. Welcome. Hello, everybody.
Yes, hi. We first I'll just say we have a lot to discuss tonight because scheduling and different things. We have not been in studio for 3 episodes.
We're sorry. We'll apologize.
So,
but it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good.
I have a lot of notes. I'm like scrolling like I got so much below the fold you guys don't even know.
Well, I try to condense the last 2 episodes, episode 19 and 20, to like just a little bit of notes.
Right. Well, because everybody just wants to talk about tonight's episode anyway, right? Am I right?
That was really good.
Okay.
That's
well,
really good.
So first, I'll talk about episode 19.
Okay.
It's Landing.
Mm-hmm.
It opens with Jeff, who used to work for the NSA.
Yes.
Debating whether or not he should go through customs.
Right. Which was great. It was a great opening.
So I have to say, as someone, my mother was born in Canada.
Okay.
So I claim half Canadian. And so I loved getting to see this whole episode just kind of be the interactions between, and I loved the your worship, not your honor, and just getting to see those differences because, again, it's just the good wife and they just stay relevant, and it's just one of those things where we do so much with some of the local or national news kind of storylines. So I just thought it was kind of cool that they brought that in. I also thought it was interesting that they... your worship, I guess, or the worship. I don't know what you would call her. The Justice of Peace, I guess.
Yeah. By the way, that actress, I love her.
my gosh,
Jane Atkinson. She was. She's been on a lot of things. I remember her from 24. She's in House of Cards. She's a great actress, and I loved.
Oh my gosh, that is where it was. It was House of Cards. If you haven't watched that, you got to watch that too.
Yeah. She's a great actress. I particularly like that. The whole it was kind of like the writer's knock on American politics.
Oh my gosh, that's what I was just gonna say. I mean, especially with. It wasn't. I loved, I guess, how it also wasn't directly related to the fact that we're in an election season, if you will.
Yeah.
So I love that they just kind of like found it, and I love when she's so directly is like in our superior healthcare system.
Yeah. It was definitely a lot of knocks on American politics, which I agree. I like that. I mean, it was. You know, we do live in a different. I mean, they're just to the north of us, Canada, and it's kind of a stark contrast the way we live and our laws and our policies versus the way they do. So
I mean, they are. You guys, I will move on quickly because I could talk about Canada for far too long.
Yeah.
But
a lot of us may be moving there, depending on how November goes.
It's actually not that easy to move to Canada. I looked at taking a job there the end of last year, and didn't, partially because of how hard it would be to get in. And that's with a company like wanting to potentially hire me. So, anyways, more importantly in this episode, I loved I guess we kind of see Alicia and Peter again. He gets arrested, and you kind of see... it's one of those where you would think that it would be something hard to watch or that you wouldn't like about Alicia because she's just kind of like, there she is after her man again.
Right.
You know, with the coat over the handcuffs and getting the tie. I mean, like, you will not. And it just... I guess there's something about it. I'm kind of traditional in that sense. And even though it's like they're still married, and while I don't agree with a lot that their marriage has, I'm really happy that she's moving on with things in her own life. I still like that there's a respect to the history and to the life that they had built, and to the family and to the name and kind of all of those things that she, you know, she wasn't just gonna like hang him out to dry, I guess, for lack of a better phrase.
Yeah, I think the last time we talked, the cliffhanger from episode 18 was he asked her to stand by him, and she took a deep breath, and I was hoping that she would, do something different, but as you said, the show is called The Good Wife,
right.
So she did what any good wife would do in this situation, stick by her, and I think as much. When you're in relationships like that, I think that no matter how much you might despise someone, you don't want to see them at their worst.
And I guess that's why, because I was surprised. Like I said, it was one of those, it was so against everything that I'm loving about Alicia and like this new direction.
Right.
But there was still something about it that was just kind of like, she's still the kind of that good person you think she is, or you hope she is.
Right. Yeah. But it puts a damper on her moving forward with Jason, which I am so team Jason. You have no idea. And all you Walking Dead fans know that I was so thrilled to see him on that show.
I'm just gonna say that is the effect that Jason has.
Yes, you have no idea. You have no idea.
We all stutter.
Yeah, I love Jason, and it's just it's kind of hard. It's kind of a catch-22 for me. Like I don't necessarily want Peter to be hung out to dry, but at the same time I want Alicia to be free and to be able to love or move on with with someone who values her as opposed to someone who takes her for granted. And not to get ahead, because a lot of the stuff that happened in tonight's episode 21, we'll get there.
Yeah,
I
know. I was like, remind me that we had this moment, because there's so many things that just brought up. So quickly moving through the episode, I love Diane and Kurt.
It's funny because and he's not unforgettable, but I kind of forgot that they were married, and they've been married for 3 years. So to see him, and the actor is on another show, but he's not on The Good Wife,
right?
And by the way, there's so many. I mean, episode 19 alone, you've got the guy from Veep, you've got the guy from Silicon Valley who played Jeff, and the Marshal, the Canadian Marshal, House of Cards. The cast is so. I mean, they get so many great actors on this show.
Right. I have a friend in television, and it just actually dawned on me today because we were texting earlier, and I was like, I should have told him, like, you got to get on The Good Wife before it's over. And I didn't, and there's one episode left, and they've probably already filmed it. Yeah. So now he's never going to be on it. And I'm never going to get to watch it.
Well, fingers crossed they'll bring it back, because we talked about it before we even walked in. I feel like there's so much left. I feel like there's so many stories left of The Good Wife.
Seriously.
To get, so I don't know.
Anyway. I'm getting ahead of myself. So I love that. So I love that he's ready to live his life. He's ready to live together. I guess it's funny you say that you kind of forgot that they were married. Like, I didn't realize that they didn't live together.
I didn't either. I
totally forgot it had been that long.
Yeah. I just assumed that because we haven't seen him, I just assumed that he was there. Yeah. All the time. Yeah. And that the writers and the producers just didn't need to bring him on as much, because he's
not a main character. He's a strong recurring, but he's not a main character. Yeah.
So and I love the with the blonde his favorite. And we've
seen her before. Like this wasn't a shock that was his protege, if you will. Like not at all a shock. But but I love Diane, because it's just, I don't know, girls, maybe guys too, but girls, like, we've all been there. Like, if you've been with somebody, there's always that one person, for some reason, it's not even that you think something's going on or that you think something went on. It's just, the girl's got legs, and the girl's 10 years younger. The girl's, whatever it is. Right. I mean, I guess it would be almost illegal for somebody to date somebody 10 years younger than me. But I mean, in Diane's case, it's like you totally see where it's coming from. And in a way, it's justified, or maybe not justified, but like reasonable. Right. But it's also one of those things where it's like, you just know, like, there's nothing going on there. Like, he totally loves her. Yes. And we get to see that kind of come full circle in the episode. Yeah. But I also love how she recognizes, okay, there's a fine line, because, like, I can't just go boss my husband around into, like, selling his business for the right amount. Right. but I also, like, he came to me wanting me to look at the contract, and the contract's a little bogus because it's, like, undervaluing him as a business.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that, and they're rich. I mean, money was not the object.
And I love that she says that.
And so when it came down to...
They're rich.
Yeah, they are. I mean, everybody on the show is rich. They're filthy. But, I mean, filthy rich, not filthy people. I love Diane, too. I love their interaction, and I love the fact that when they first started dating or getting together, it was very push and pull, and now you can see that they, over the course of 3 years, they're compromising, because even now in tonight's episode you see where
the push and pull.
Yes.
We'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
But okay, so along those lines, I hadn't thought of this until now, but it's interesting because it's kind of what we're seeing with Jason and Alicia as well.
Yes.
I mean, like, their whole relationship, it's like, in the beginning, it's like, it should be more exciting. It shouldn't be this hard. Granted, we see them in bed a lot. So, like, we know they're having a good time. But it's like, there's still so many layers and so much complication. And it's kind of like, why would you be in it why would you stick with something that's so hard this early? But it's like, because it's here. Well, like, they're in it.
I think for Jason and Alicia, I think it started out simple, and I think they've even wanted it to be simple, and now it's evolving into something.
The heart wants what it wants.
Yeah, it's evolving into something that's more complicated. Relationships are complicated. Yeah, that's why I stay away from them.
And when you care, I mean, it's when you care, because then there's something on the line, and we see that a little bit. I also loved in 19, and then we should probably move on.
Okay.
I loved how they re-tied in with Jeff in this case in Canada. Alicia'S being called onto that executive board.
Yeah.
And now she's like, you can't blame two people for the same leak. Like, somebody already lost their job for that. You can't now, like, put it on him. And just kind of seeing that, I'm sure those things happen all the time, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it was the way she navigated, she handled it really well. It was a slippery slope, because on the one hand, you don't want to incriminate yourself,
right?
Because she was, like, obligated. She was, what's the word? It was confidential.
Yeah, like I don't know if she signed like a non-disclosure,
right?
Or
so
what that.
On the other hand, she needs to serve her client, so. It was, it was, you know, and I love how her and Luca kind of used both the NRA, NSA,
and the CSE.
And there you go, to their advantage.
Oh yes, I love that, and I loved how, because he's one of my favorites too. He was on Ugly Betty way back when. He's been on other things since. But
Michael Urie, I believe it is.
Michael Urie.
Yeah.
He's love him.
Yeah.
So he So Alicia figures out, of course, the NSA is listening.
Yes.
And I love that, because she's like, I love that the first thing she's like, they've heard everything about Jason.
Yeah.
Like, that's like the first thing.
That's the first thing she thought of. Yeah. I would think the same thing.
But, you know, so then, you know, she's smart enough to not talk near her phone, not call on her phone, like all those things, until they're going to make this whole Canada's wants him, you know, he's an asset, and they do that whole thing.
Right.
Because they know that that they're listening, and I love that Michael's character knows that they're playing him.
Yes.
And he's like, he tries to get ahead of it, but he can't. It's too late.
Yeah.
And the kid gets asylum, and he's gonna live happily ever after in Canada. And now he's watching the election, and he's so happy that he has to stay in Canada.
And I love the mockery on. The United States listening on, like, they're probably listening to us right now on our phones.
Well, especially because of all the words we've been saying.
Exactly.
I've always thought that. I'm like, they probably watch our show.
So, and to know that Canada has one, for themselves.
She says that, and she's like, are the freedoms that we have here because we're not listening to our people.
Exactly.
And then you literally see the same two idiots all say, the same two guys joking around.
Yeah, I thought it was funny. I thought it was hilarious.
It was perfect.
It is a little unnerving, though, to see Alicia and you know, just to think that people are listening and or surveilling us daily. It's really strange. But that in itself, the episode was really great. I thought it was a really great episode.
So great. So, and it led really well. I really loved episode 20. Let's move into episode 20. I really loved that they made this the party, and they kept for Jackie and Harold. Which again, it's like, oh yeah, they got married too.
Yeah, random. Yeah.
But I loved it. It was the perfect way to bring all those characters that you want to say a final goodbye to, or hello goodbye, because I'm really hoping. I just watched the end of another series recently, and the last episode is like a song and dance, and everybody's in like the local.
What show is this?
I don't want to admit it. Well, no. Because I didn't watch all of it, but Heart of Dixie.
Oh, okay. Never seen it.
It's not like my typical show.
Right.
And it is a great show. I love Rachel Bilson and Jamie King, and I could go on. But the final episode, they're all like dancing in like it's like about a small town in Alabama. They're all like dancing in like the town square, like, singing, and it just was like. It's like a montage of like song and dance. It's like, this isn't what the show is about. This isn't, like, I don't want you to like tie a pretty little bow, and like put a button on it to like end it in that way. So I'm saying, I hope the party was like bringing all those characters back and kind of having that moment with everybody to avoid having to do that like silliness.
Yeah.
As far as like the way you end a show, because there's just too much to do to have it be like silly.
Right. I mean, the great thing about the party was bringing back like Zach.
Oh my gosh, we got to see the kids.
Yeah, reintroducing him into the show, bringing back Stalker Channing. I can't remember what her name is, but she's Alicia's mom.
Yes.
And just like her interaction with Jackie is just like priceless. It's great. It's just like it doesn't get any better.
And I love how so first of all, I just saw a note which we have to address because it's like the end of episode 19 into episode 20, and it's Jason. Alicia tells Jason she's getting a divorce.
Right.
And she means to tell him that so that he knows, so he doesn't find it out from somewhere else.
Right.
And she's hoping it's not going to get weird. But it is
totally
weird.
gets weird. And then on top of that, okay, so
it's like one of those things like you can't not talk about this.
Yes.
Like so
yes.
I had to cut us back.
Well,
to be fair, that's the way episode 20 starts. It picks up right where we left off.
Yes.
So we're still talking about episode 20.
Yeah. But I mean, okay, so well, what do you think about his gift to her?
Oh my gosh.
I thought it was cute. I thought it was
you would no.
It was ill-timed. I get it.
Well, and it's one of those like I think it was like his heart was in the right place, and I think the fact that he's thinking about her and doing those kinds of silly things for her is like it's like his way of showing. It's like his way of courting, and I think he didn't want to give it to her. Like he wasn't going to give it to her in that moment because he knew this is not the time for a gift like this, and she saw it, and so it just kind of was one of those like unfortunate things. But I also was like kind of waiting for the Kings to like pull us around and have it mean something deeper that we just on the surface didn't see, with like the 500 acres being significant somehow, or something about Mars. Like I was waiting for something a little deeper to kind of like bring us into it and have it like actually be something like truly heartfelt.
Right.
And it wasn't there yet.
I was actually surprised at her reaction. I thought she would be more like accepting. Well, okay, I guess she just told him that that she's getting a divorce. So okay, yeah, now I get it. But I didn't think it was that big of a deal until her and Grace were talking about it like a couple of scenes later. I mean, it was just, I thought it was a cute gesture. I thought it was sweet. Yeah. But I guess it was ill-timed, and
But again, I think it's frustrating because he knew that, and he wasn't gonna he was gonna save it for the right moment.
Right.
Since that night, which he thought would be, turned out not so much to be.
Right.
So, let's see. Okay, the kids are home. They're home for her grandma's party. I loved. Okay, this is like the dumbest thing, you guys, but I was obsessed with the wine glasses.
Oh, those are cute glasses. Yes.
I don't think we've ever seen those on the episode.
Yeah.
And that was just, I don't know, like I loved them. I absolutely loved them.
Yeah.
I want like square glasses like that now.
And it's also, we see Zach is growing up, she's pouring him a glass of wine.
You think so when he gets the wine, and then Hannah comes in.
Yeah. That was a mess.
And like, what's the point of that?
Well, I actually got it. I mean, it's because you see later on in the episode that, you see Alicia and Peter breaking up, and the kids the way they find out is like kind of horrible.
Well, I mean, that's in Alicia's mother's fashion.
Right.
Like, there would not be a worse person or a worse way to have it come out. Yeah. And of course,
I felt bad for Grace because she was sitting right there. But, I think bringing his relationship kind of justifies Peter and Alicia's divorce. I mean, who are they to tell him that he shouldn't get married and move to France? You know. And at the end of the episode, she says to Peter, you know, let him make his mistake, make the mistake. Right. So it.
But I think that had more to do with what Hannah came and said. And how did you feel about that? Where she was like, my parents are divorced, but they still get together, but like they're seeing other people. And like, if he wants to leave me, it's fine. But, you know, because it's like, to Alicia's point, it's like, if you don't have any interest in permanence, like, why get married?
Exactly. And
she's like, well, how did she word it? I don't remember, but Hannah said it in such a way that was sort of like, you can't, like, make yourself work for marriage. You have to make marriage work for you. But it's like, oh, taxes. She says for taxes. That's what it was. And I was like, okay, well, that's, like, logical.
Right.
But it's just one of those, like, what do you mean for taxes? He's not going to make any money. Like, they've already addressed that you're going to be his sugar mama.
Right. I think the big thing that I got from that was the fact that marriage shouldn't be a death sentence. I think she used, like, nail in the coffin. It should be happy. Marriage should be happy. So, I don't
disagree.
But at the same time, I think that you're talking to someone who really, I don't believe in the institution of marriage. So,
okay. So, like, to that then, like, they don't think it's going to be permanent, or, like, they realize, like, it might not be permanent. Like, why?
So why do it?
Like, would you marry somebody then, like, for financial benefit? Like,
possibly.
For health benefit. I mean, like as a business transaction. People sign prenups. Like, that's the business side of it.
Yeah, I think when children are involved, I think that's a great reason for people to get married. But if there is no children, if children aren't in the picture, I don't see it unless, like you said, a financial thing. I mean, he's loaded. She seems to be doing well. She's about to take a position in France. So I don't see the necessity for them to get married. But you're young. They're 19 and 23. Hey.
I think I'm also, like, a little sensitive to this because my brother's getting married in, like, a month.
Oh.
And him and his fiance met, let's see. It is May 1st.
It is May 1st. Oh, my God.
3 months ago.
Oh, okay.
And they're getting married in 1 month.
So how does that make you feel?
4 months met to married.
Hey. I mean, you can't put a time on it, though. And that is fast. I agree. That is pretty fast.
And they're,
quick.
like, roughly the same ages, and it's just one of those things. I don't know. Like, I think it, like, hit a little close to home.
Right.
And, I mean, granted, they're not, like, moving to France and dropping out of college. Like, they're very smart, grounded people. I'm like you. Like, I wouldn't go as far as to say, like, I don't believe in the institution of marriage, but...
Right.
You know, I was with somebody for, like, 6 years, and marriage was not something that we were, like, itching for.
Right.
You know, so
why do it?
So it's just one of those things where it was just kind of like, but I don't know. I just was surprised by Hannah's answer.
Right.
Which
no, I totally got
it. I liked that I was surprised by it, but I also was kind of like, okay, like, what's the point in her bringing up marriage in this way?
Right.
Because, like, there's a reason that they would write her in to not just to be a girlfriend, like, to be a fiance, to be moving to France, to be talking about marriage, kind of like it's this loose interpretation of love.
Right.
You know.
Right.
And let's see what else I have. Oh, I thought it was interesting, you know, so of course now, I think, is it in this episode that Eli asks Jason to prove that Peter's guilty?
Yes.
And it's interesting because at first you're like, what? But then you realize he's like, no, like, I need you to prove he's guilty because then I will know what they have.
Right.
So that we know what we're up against. That was my interpretation, at least.
Yes.
Like, he wasn't really trying to put Peter away. Right. He was trying to understand the defense.
He needs to know where they stand as far. I mean, I even at this point, I don't really know who to believe or what the truth is, or whether Peter is guilty or not.
Ooh.
But
I think he's innocent. I'm not. Like, you guys were all gonna, like, hate me and be like, "You're so stupid. You're just like Alicia." But I think he's innocent, and I think the reason is because there's so much trying to say that he's guilty, and it would be such the cliche, make sense sort of thing for him to be guilty.
Right.
Or maybe I'm just like totally bought that final speech tonight, but it's one of those things where, you know, the one guy is like, he's the best state's attorney we've had in 20 years, and it's like, well, that wouldn't have anything to do with you having worked on his like private security detail,
right?
And he like says it again, and then he kind of says it's irrelevant. He showed up on the scene, and it's, you know, the blood processing, and then you go find out, and you find out, well, actually that person that processed the crime scene like actually has like a huge record of like mishaps.
Right.
You know, she also tried to make him look guilty. So I feel like we're gonna find out like somebody is using this specific case or use this specific case to try to set him up for now.
Right.
Or like for later, like now being later.
Right. Right.
And that we're like, and I'm sure the Kings knowing this, like this is all part of the plan. Like they set him up to look guilty. And he's going to take the deal. Or no, we see that the verdict is in, so I don't think he can take the deal. We haven't seen that far.
Right. This is episode 21, by the way.
Right. Well, I mean, I'm kind of dabbling in.
No, it's good.
Into the two.
No.
Okay, so before we move officially on to 21, I also want to talk about Jason leaves at the beginning of the episode, and it's kind of like, we'll talk about this later. I'll call because Grace shows up with the flowers, and it's like a huge mess until Jackie loves the funeral flowers.
I thought it was hilarious.
For her party. It's so not like Jackie.
No, I know.
You just see she's just so happy. Like she doesn't even realize that, or maybe she doesn't care. Like these are straight up funeral flowers. For her like wedding celebration kind of.
Not to mention the rest in peace cake.
Right? Like the bright pink cross cake that says rest in peace.
That's awesome.
But I loved that you start to see Jason like struggling to play it cool. And he calls, and she doesn't respond, and she kind of screens it, and she's kind of getting closer to Peter because they're having to be parents together. And, you know, Jason shows up, and you're like, oh, yes. But then he's there for Eli.
Yeah.
And, like, they just but then he's like, no, go get her. It'll just take a second. And they go outside, and I thought it was interesting. They kiss in public.
Yeah. I never thought of that.
That was like the first thing I was like, oh my gosh, she just kissed him in public.
That is so funny. I never thought of that.
Like on the street. And I also loved, and I don't know, this is just maybe me like in the dating scene newly again, like looking for like moves, but you know, like she was like wearing his jacket, and they like said their little thing, and we'll talk. And I love she kind of like turned it on him, like, we'll talk, you know, like I was waiting for her to be like, I'll call you. Yeah. But she like turned around, and she was wearing his jacket, and she just kind of like did one of these, and he like grabbed it. She just kind of like shrugged it off her shoulders and kept walking. I loved that.
She's a player. Alicia Florrick is a player.
She's not a player. She's only got Jason. Okay, and her husband.
And her husband, yes. But,
and Marissa's back in this episode.
I love Marissa.
And she wants to go to law school, and all she wants to do is like talk to Alicia about it.
Yeah.
And they don't get two words together.
It's like you said, bringing all these characters back into this one apartment, and like especially having them, a lot of them be drunk. Oh, by the way, the part where Zach is telling Alicia and Peter that about his plans of getting married and moving, and instead of like she starts laughing.
Yes.
I just thought, because I had to rewind, I thought she was crying, and then I looked, I was like, oh, she's laughing. That is hilarious.
And I love how Peter's like, you want to like tag back in, like you gonna join us here?
It was hilarious. I thought it was a great moment. Just her, and
then it's like such real parents.
Yes.
And like so where Alicia is in her life, like. I feel like in no other, like a week before or a week after, she probably would have reacted differently. It was like everything in that night on that moment just like led her to be like,
I think
of course.
Our last after show, I said that I love the fact that she has this carefree attitude now. It's just like, I don't care.
Well, and she says it at the beginning of the episode when Jason's kind of like questioning her on this, like, are you really getting divorced for you? And she's like, look, like, I don't want to delay anything anymore. Like, I want to live. I want to be present. I don't want to have anything, like, tying me down or holding me back from whatever it is that comes in my life. And, of course, there's always going to be that element of, like, okay, but, now that you have me and, like, we don't really know what's going on, but, like, things are going well. It's, like, I don't... Like, it seems hard to not think that that's a true motivating factor here, for, you know, for all of this. So... So, okay, I read that. Love the way she gets the jacket back. Okay, Tassione bows out at the last minute because of his dog, Tom.
So
I feel like there's more to that.
Yeah.
And hopefully we get a nod to that in the final episode.
I think that was a way to have Diane represent him. I think that was a good way to like
because then that ties in Kurt coming.
Yes. And so like now you have and bringing Carrie in as and.
Okay, we are officially on episode 21 tonight.
I can't.
We gotta go on. We gotta go on.
This whole Geneva and Peter thing, it reminds me of season 2 when we figured out that Peter was sleeping with Kalinda, and so. I think I reacted the way that Alicia reacted when she figured it when she found out. It was just like, not surprised.
You want me to cry about it?
That was hilarious.
Oh my gosh,
it's her. She's not shocked by it, and it's just like, hey, nothing surprises me anymore. Like I mean, Peter sleeps with everybody.
I also I don't really think she believed it. I really don't. I don't
think she cares at this point.
No, well, okay, that too. Like, she doesn't care.
Right.
And so it's like, she doesn't believe it or believe. Like, it's not that she is like, no, he didn't. It's like, I don't even want to spend the time to try to figure out if he did or didn't, because, like, I don't care if he did or if he didn't.
Well, I mean, again, it brings us back to her being close with Kalinda and then finding out that he slept with her. And how that ruined her relationship because she never really had a female friend before that. So,
and thankfully her and Geneva were not friends.
Yes,
so
exactly.
that wasn't a factor at all. Thank goodness, Luca, for you.
Exactly. So it's just one of those things where, I was actually expecting her to be more like shocked or cry. Like, I didn't expect her to cry, but I
like, again, Peter, like one of those kind of like, really?
She took the news really well. Again, we don't know if he did it or not. I think he did.
You think he did?
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past him.
I don't think he did.
I wouldn't put it past him.
I think it's just part of the conspiracy thing, like with all the other people that are kind of like trying to make it look like he micromanaged it for foul play's sake. I think it's like part of that.
Right.
So we'll see.
Right.
I've never liked Geneva. Okay, ever since her and Carrie like had their thing, and then she would like had her whole like. Was it like she was like butthurt because like he got a promotion or something and she didn't, and I don't know. It's just one of those where I'm like, come on, like you like it's Carrie August, like you were never gonna end up with Carrie. Come on, girl.
Right.
Come on. And I'm glad that they kept Carrie in it. They found ways to keep him involved, even though it's kind of in a little bit of a tense way that we're like seeing him because of course Canning is like feeding Alicia some of this information, helping out with the case, like trying to keep Carrie out of it.
Right.
But then, lo and behold, his name ends up getting brought up as
not by anybody
as the prosecutor on the case, as the one who handled the evidence. And okay, so I thought they were gonna say Geneva's name, actually, because they had already just talked about like how she's bullied her way onto cases. And so I'm like kind of still waiting for that. Like maybe it'll come out that like she kind of bullied her way onto this case, but like not officially in the record because like they already had their 2 counsel on, like something like that is kind of what I'm thinking.
It's just it's one of those things where I don't know how this is gonna play out, but it's really interesting as it is unfolding, and it's not a fact of the matter of him being guilty or innocent. It's more or less like all of these other bringing all of these pieces together and kind of and I don't know if this is what they were the intention on wrapping the show up, but it's bringing like this history back into the show.
Well, like they went. Was it tonight's episode where we see Alicia do the press conference, or was that last episode?
That was this episode.
They do the press conference,
yes,
and you see her like standing by her man once again, and the whole like, and it's just like you would figure out a way to literally bring us back full circle. To her standing at his side, literally like you said, the good wife, like she's still the good wife. And I really found it interesting. Okay, so I wrote a note. I just put things with Jason are real. And it was, I don't remember at what point in the episode, but it was just one of those, they've now had some of their conversations. We find out that Jason, he's like never been like held down by anything anywhere, and now he's feeling stuck because like even without her asking him to be, like he understands how he feels for her and he doesn't want to be away from her, but he also knows, hey, I don't settle, like I don't stay in one place, and like you have deep roots here, and that's kind of his hesitation. It's like, I want to be with you, but I also want the ability to like go somewhere else.
Yeah, well, that conversation transpired at the end with the jacket of episode 19.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're seeing like the ramifications of that.
Yes.
She's like, oh, and I appreciate that it's a real relationship, that like it's not, especially when it's like she's married, her husband's in prison, her husband might go to prison, her husband's also the governor of the state, you know, he and her, like Jason and Alicia work together, like there's so many levels to this that keep it from being anything but simple, and so I love that it's not just like your typical like movie or like TV of like fantasy affair where everything is just, now that they've found each other, like, it's all just gravy, baby.
Yeah.
I'm glad that it's not that way.
And his conversation with Luca, or Luca's conversation with him, about whether or not Peter, if Peter goes to prison, again, this all hinges on what's happening to Peter as far as his relationship with Alicia. If he goes to prison, they stay married. If he doesn't go to prison, they get a divorce, and he doesn't really know which one he wants.
I love that she asked that, and like you don't find out.
Yeah.
And it's almost one of those like, I don't know. I don't know that he knows. Like, I think it's one of those like, I'll just deal with it as it happens, or like when it comes.
When the cards are dealt, I'll deal with it.
But that's also kind of like, I think he does know, but he's like afraid to admit it.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And I hate that he knows her well enough that he was just like right on.
Yeah.
Because, we see, of course, at the end of the episode, Peter's like talking about taking the deal. He says he's decided that he is. I don't know now if that's a possibility, but even still, she says, like, he does the, will you come visit me? And, yes, I will. And she doesn't say every week in any of that, but it's just like, you just know. Like,
you just assume.
It's exactly like Jason called it.
Yeah.
And I hate him for being right, but I also love that he knows her well enough to recognize that about the situation they're in. And that's probably also part of it, where it's like, I don't want to feel stuck, because even if we get to be together and, like, you do divorce him and everything, like, he's still here in prison, and like you're still gonna want some semblance of like communication, and your kids are gonna come home to Chicago, and all of those things. I also found interesting in this episode, in the party episode, we see Kurt and Diane like lovey-dovey, so happy, and it's like a 180 in this episode, because Diane has to ask him to come, not lie, of course, but give his opinion on the case and
stress the truth a little bit.
I
don't think it was a lie.
I feel like yes and no, because I feel like kind of like the protege said, like, I think he oversold it.
Right.
But to Luca's point, if what he's telling us over the stand is the same way it was presented to Peter, then why wouldn't Peter take that at face value, even if it wasn't the truth?
Right.
Like that's the information your ballistics expert is telling you.
Right.
So, like, why wouldn't you believe that at that point? Like, why would you have motive to get rid of the bullets if he's telling you they don't look like they came from his gun?
Right.
So I thought that was interesting, but of course it completely looked like he was lying for his wife, or like trying to help his wife out. And I love Diane, and I love that how guilty she felt, and you see the ramifications of that, and it's like lesson learned. Like that's another one of those. Like, it's not always easy, and it's not always like fun and games, but I feel like they'll find their way.
Oh yeah, they'll be fine
through it.
I mean, they genuinely love each other, so I think they'll be fine.
I mean, if they can be so strongly Republican and so strongly Democrat, and all of the other things and lifestyle things that go with that, and have found their place in life together, this is not gonna like break them by any means.
They'll be fine.
And then the other thing I wrote. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, this goes back to Jason and his dilemma, especially when he sees them holding hands when Alicia's leaning over, and
yes.
And then that's something. I mean, he has to literally back away from that, because if I put myself in his shoes and I see that would like hurt me. I would be like
absolutely.
So a lot of these. Everyone has choices on the show, and it's like not even like what I want to eat for lunch. It's like life decisions. I mean, we see him having to fight his emotions versus being the person that he is.
Right.
And then you have Diane, who wants to fight the good fight for Peter, but is putting her relationship, her marriage, and testing that.
The crapper.
Yeah. So everybody's making these life and
it's interesting because it's like for Peter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everything is revolving around Peter, which is so. This is how the show started.
Everyone is making these sacrifices to help Peter.
And the great thing about this show, I mean, even bringing Carrie in when he was working at the state's attorney's office, it's like everything ties into Peter, and it's just it's fascinating how they could. 7 seasons and it's still like they managed
brought Geneva Pine back.
I know. I kind of I didn't forget about her, but I just didn't think it would be that big of a that issue. So this was a great episode, and we have to talk about the beginning where they the conference room.
Yeah, that was my final note. On the case, before we get onto that, I just want to say I did think it was interesting, and this is part of why I feel like Peter is innocent in the bullet situation and this mistrial, is because he talks about, and I think with true conviction, like, I know what it's like to be wrongfully convicted, and I know what it does to families, specifically, like he says to I know what it does to my wife, and he's saying this to Alicia, and I think that there's a truth to that. Like, he was wrongfully convicted, everything was taken away. It didn't matter. He still had a reputation to clean up. He still had a family that had to watch him sit in jail for 8 months. He still had to pick up the pieces of his life. So when he was reelected and he did get back in office, he did want to make sure, like, why wouldn't you want to make sure, having the actual ability to be responsible for that in an honest way, why wouldn't you be motivated to make sure that nobody else had a wrongful conviction and had to go through what you went through? Plus, they also showed the statistics of the previous state's attorney and like his percentages in the same types of cases as far as like thrown out or mistrials or whatever. So I guess, I mean, I feel like he's innocent, and because of everything we know about Peter, it's one of those, like, it's just easy to think, oh yeah, he did this too. Right. Okay, but
I'm not gonna let him off the hook that easy.
That easy? Yeah. All right.
I've never been Team Peter. Never. Not in the history of the show. He's just.
I think there's something a little bit like old-fashioned. Like, not that I want them to end up back together.
Right.
But there's just something sad about having all of that and letting it go, I guess.
Team Jason all the way.
Well,
from me.
You're making me look like a bad guy now.
No,
I'm Team
you're entitled
Jason.
to your opinion.
I'm Team Jason, y'all.
So the conference room.
Yes.
David Lee is probably one of the funniest people on this show. And I actually thought he sabotaged them in the beginning. To figure out that he had no idea what was happening either. It was classic.
With the music, like, he turned his headphones on with his music to, like, I don't know what's going on.
Exactly. So I was laughing hysterically when I saw that.
He was like, what the? Yeah. I love that he didn't know. And it's one of those where I love that they come to him like, well, and maybe I misunderstood this, but they said, okay, now we want to, Diane's like, now we want to expand, whoopsies, we were supposed to do this on another floor. Like, could you imagine having somebody in your place of business? But it's also like, it's the conference room. Like, we all know it's like the middle of the office. Right. How did no one question it?
I think everyone at that firm they don't question anything.
But it's like Jason and Luca were literally sitting in the conference room at the table, and they just came in and started like hitting with hammers. Like, that's, I don't know.
I think because they.
I think not how that works.
I think because they knew that they were expanding, they just assumed that it was like.
That's true. They're like more, but it's like, wouldn't you say to them like, we're gonna start pounding in here, so it's time to like move. But anyways, I guess I'm like really.
No, I thought it was hilarious.
It was hilarious, and then I love how Diane uses that like maybe we should expand up.
Yeah.
And then they come in and they're like, your floor might collapse on you because now there's not a load bearing wall. And it seemed like they were saying that because of that mishap, like they took out a load bearing wall, but maybe not because they had that architect in there like with the wing stairs.
Or was it a metaphor for like the all female firm?
Right. Well, I don't know, but that's David Lee. I almost feel like he went into it saying, "Yep, I'm gonna get on board with this,
right?
So that I can sabotage it, like with this whole like discriminatory,
right? And
then push out the ones I don't want,
right?
Because obviously he can't just like now make an all male firm,
no.
But he could get rid of the female partners, perhaps that he doesn't want involved,
right?
So, anyway.
He has his motives, but it's funny to how they, do the men versus women and how they reversed it, and now he's the one that's like...
Yeah, and I love how she's like, oh...
Yeah, I know.
Oh, because like a dictatorship isn't a vote.
Right.
And he's like...
I mean, let's just call it spade a spade. He's a white male, and a lot of things are handed to him. So now that this role is reversed, that the women are taking power, I think it's hilarious.
So taste of his own medicine, yes. I feel like is what it is.
And I really haven't been Team David, but he's hilarious. I do. The character is awesome.
Yes, he's not doing his job right as an actor if you like him.
Yes, exactly.
Like you can like him for being that villainous character, but you can't like David Lee. Like nobody likes David Lee.
Nobody likes David Lee.
As David Lee.
Right.
You like the part he plays in the show.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any final last thought before you go to predictions for the finale?
Oh my God, I just don't want this to end. I mean, like, the show is. We said it before.
Yeah.
I feel like there's so much. There's another season of storytelling at least. At least.
All right. Well.
Predictions. I don't know.
And now, your AfterBuzz.
You gotta wait.
No. Oh, okay. I don't know. The way they're gonna wrap the show, I'm really interested to see.
Okay,
how.
well, first of all, the episode tonight was called Verdict.
Verdict, yeah.
So.
Oh, okay.
So at least give me that.
Okay, so I think Peter is going to be found guilty. I think he's going to go to prison. I think Alicia is going to, her relationship with Jason is going to hinder on him going to prison, and I don't think I have a feeling they're not going to wrap this show up in a nice little bow. I think there's going to be a forever lingering cliffhanger that's never going to be solved. Ooh. That's what I think. I think it's going to be, will she or won't she be with Jason? That's the cliffhanger.
They're not going to give us.
They're not going to give us.
All right.
What do you think?
I think Peter is going to be found not guilty.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so we're opposites.
Yes. And maybe that's wishful thinking, but...
Right.
Or I guess that we are not going to find out because he's going to be able to take the 2-year deal and he's going to do that. But I completely agree that Alicia and Jason will completely depend on the verdict. But I think Alicia's going to surprise us, and I think we're going to know if they end up together.
Oh, okay.
I think we're going to know. And I think that they're going to, if they don't end up together, they're going to give us a worthy reason as to why not.
No,
because
why not?
They're not going to just like leave us hating the end.
Right.
Like they're too good for that.
Right.
But I also agree they're not going to like tie it up. Like there's just too many things.
Yeah.
To tie it all up.
And I like the fact that you mentioned it with the party episode, that they kind of brought back all these other characters from the entire series to give us kind of a closure on what they're doing.
Yes.
Like her mom and her brother, and just so I think all of that has been like tied up. I think the only things left are Jason and Alicia's relationship, the partnership with the firm,
yeah,
and I think I need something to go on with Carrie.
I was just thinking the same thing. Like we need to know.
I feel like he
didn't just quit law.
Yeah, I feel like
for nothing.
Yeah, he's just hanging. He's just hanging. So I kind of want closure on that. Aside from that, I will be happy with however they ended. I'm going to be very sad. I may cry next week.
Oh, me too.
But we'll see. I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm sad, but I'm excited.
Well, where can all of our fine folks find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Kinney C. Harrison, all one word. Or you can catch me tomorrow night on AfterBuzz TV, RuPaul's Drag Race.
Check it out. I'll be watching.
Oh, cool.
I will.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
And, of course, you can find me at Cohen, Couhen, on Instagram and Twitter. Thank you so much for joining us. We only have one more episode, but we will be back in studio next week to discuss the series finale. Join us.
Check you later.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.